Well, hello everyone. I am Matt Williamson, and just to pull back the curtain, I am recording this on Monday from home because Tuesday is going to be a huge travel day for me back and forth, or back to Latrobe, and just don't have the time to do it. So if something big occurs Tuesday in practice, I absolutely will respond to it either right after practice or Wednesday morning for you guys. So this one's just sort of a generic one, talking quarterbacks, talking Kenny Pickett. And it's one of my favorite days because, like I mentioned, this is Monday. Mike Sando's QB tiers hit the web. And Sando's a good friend of mine. We worked at ESPN together for 10 years. And he polls 50 executives, coaches, anonymous sources throughout the league. And I think this is how he does it, is he gives them 30 quarterback names and says, put them in tier 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. And gets them all back, accumulates the votes, and tiers all these guys. And then there's a lot of talk about them as well. So, of course, we're going to talk about Pickett. But just to give you an idea of like how these guys are tiered and how they're viewed by this panel, the tier 1 dudes is Mahomes, of course. And this is what they call a tier 1 guy. Is a tier 1 quarterback can carry his team each week. The team wins because of him. He expertly handles pure passing situations. He has no real holes in his game. Now, to me, there should almost be a Mahomes tier, because of all these voters, no one even put him in the second tier. I mean, he has ones across the board. So he's number 1, of course. And then Burrow and Allen are 2 and 3. And I think you can put those in either order. I slightly prefer Allen just because of his physicality and size, but they kind of stand alone. And to me, I think that's maybe where I would draw the line of tier 1s, but that's not what the audience or what these voters did. They have Aaron Rodgers at 4, Herbert at 5. Now, I could absolutely eat my words, but after last year's performance, Rodgers would be a tier 2 guy for me and would be 6th or 7th. He wouldn't be 4th. He could be awesome, though. I mean, he was tied with Mahomes last year for 1. I mean, that was just 1 year ago, coming off an MVP season. Herbert, to me, would be my top tier 2 guy. He comes in at 5. So then they get to tier 2. It's Hurts at 6, Lamar at 7. I would flop them. I would go Herbert, top of tier 2, then Lamar, then Hurts, then Rodgers. Then, so that's different than the way they have it. They have Rodgers 4, Herbert 5, Hurts 6, Lamar 7. Sticking with tier 2, Lawrence is at 8. He took a big jump, deservedly so. Dak Prescott at 9. Matthew Stafford fell, but they still kept him in tier 2, which I understand, and I should have told you what a tier 2 quarterback is. Tier 2 quarterback can carry his team sometimes, but not as consistently. He can handle pure passing situations and does and or possesses other dimensions that are special enough to elevate him above tier 2. He has a hole or 2 in his game. So here's another conversation, and it's a bigger one, but it applies to Kenny too. Whenever we get to this time, I believe if you have a young quarterback, when it gets to be contract time, if he's a tier 1 player, you pay him, and you pay him whatever he wants. No doubt. Just he's Superman, take him. Basically, that's true if you're a tier 2 guy as well. They're hard enough guys to come by. If Kenny, when his contract is up, is a tier 2 player or is just slamming on the door to get to a tier 2 player, you pay him. And I'm talking the 40 millions, the big money. Tier 3 guys, I don't know if that's a good investment or not. Would you rather have a Kenny Pickett for 5 years on a rookie deal, or would you rather have the same guy basically, but maybe a little better and older and more experienced, but you're paying him 40 million, Anyway, let's get back to these rankings. But I think that's a good way to look at it. So Lawrence was 8, Dak was 9, Stafford 10, Watson 11, Kirk Cousins 12. That's the end of tier 2. I don't know what you do with Watson. We can fight about that all day. But to me, tier 3, a tier 3 quarterback is a legitimate starter, but needs a heavier running game and or defensive component to win. A lower volume drop back passing offense suits him best. To me, Kirk Cousins is the poster boy of tier 3. He should be number 1 in tier 3 to me. Well, he was last in tier 2, so fair enough. He's just accumulating votes here. The tier 3 guys are Kyler, Carr, Goff, Russell Wilson, Tua, Jimmy G, Daniel Jones, Geno Smith now comes in at 20, Justin Fields, which is a tough one to rank, Ryan Tannehill, Mac Jones is your last tier 3 guy. I'm not going to fight those arguments. We're not here to say this guy should be 21, this guy should be 23, this guy should be 19, whatever. But Mac Jones, to me, is a tier 4 quarterback, which is where you're going to find Kenny, which is defined as a tier 4 quarterback can be an unproven player, not enough information for voters, or a veteran who ideally will not start all 17 games. I think Pickett fits that, but I think Mac Jones is still there as well, even though he is a year older. So Brock Purdy is the top of tier 4, and Kenny Pickett is next. They're 24 and 25 overall, and we're kind of splitting hairs here. If you add up all the votes, Purdy's average vote is 3.50. Pickett's is 3.52. I've told you before, I prefer Pickett to Purdy. I might prefer both of them to Mac Jones. Definitely, I prefer Pickett to Mac Jones. I host this Peacock and Williamson podcast, and we went through these earlier in the week. And I asked Peacock, who's a Niner guy, I'm like, if the Patriots offered you Mac Jones for Purdy straight up, would you say yes? And he said no. And I said the same about Kenny. So, but this, you can understand this tier, or at least the top of it. It's Purdy, it's Pickett, it's Jordan Love. Then Baker Mayfield stands out at 26. He would be lower for me. I'm not sure I would trade Trubisky for Mayfield, to be honest with you. Sam Howell's at 28, Desmond Ridder at 29, and then they have Gardner Minshew at 30. So not a lot of takeaways there, but I do think, Kenny, and this is the case for the young guys, they're going to be low on the list. There's just not a lot of information. And here's what they had to say about Pickett, too. There's some quotes here I think are, first of all, he got 24 tier 3 votes, 26 tier 4 votes. So he's right in the middle there. By most accounts, the Steelers have found themselves a solid starting quarterback. Solid, but not spectacular. Here's a quote. His best traits are going to be his moxie, decision-making, toughness, leadership, things that really don't have a number. 3 defensive coordinators who faced Pickett provided similar accounts. I think he sees it, and when things break down, he's much more mobile than you think. I've been telling you guys that a lot. I just don't think he has an elite arm talent. Another coordinator said he thought Pickett would be the Kirk Cousins, Mac Jones, Derek Carr conversation at some point in the future. His talent is limited, a coordinator said. All the rest of it is top-notch. Pickett finished his rookie season with 7 touchdowns and 9 interceptions and 12 starts. Not much to go on, as quarterbacks with wide range of career outcomes have produced similarly as rookies. And here's the last quote. He had a game-winning drive into a strong win against Vegas on Christmas Eve. We just need to see a lot more. Tier 4 is perfect for him now. And I won't fight him on that. By the criteria of this, I would have him as a Tier 4 guy. I'll be shocked and unimpressed, frankly, if he's not a Tier 3 guy next year. Maybe, all the things considered, he's knocking on the door of Tier 2. And then you start talking about, that's a guy I want to pay. All right, be back in a moment. I want another little thing here about quarterbacks I found pretty interesting as well. So it was a short little article by Pro Football Focus today, but they put out, what they're doing is they're trying to promote their quarterback annual, their guide, which is quite good. And so they're giving you little snippets. Here's a list of quarterback best when scrambling, best at this deep routes, whatever it is. And today they put out their grades, which I usually agree with, but aren't gospel. Pro Football Focus grades when under pressure. And number 1 on the list was Mitch Trubisky. So here's what they said about Mitch. Trubisky only appeared in 7 games and faced just 57 dropbacks under pressure, the fewest among quarterbacks that qualified for this list. Fair enough. Former 2nd overall pick, went 22 for 44 on 248 yards and a touchdown, recording 6 big-time throws and just 1 turnover play. His 12.8 big-time throw rate also ranked first at the position, beating Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, and Joe Burrow. Last season, Trubisky and Josh Allen were the only quarterbacks with a double-digit big-time throw rate on pressured dropbacks. Okay, Mitch. I mean, I think that's something to be said for that. Second on the list is Josh Allen. It's good company to keep. Third on the list, Kenny Pickett. So I'll tell you what they read about this in a minute, of course, but I immediately started thinking, and I have not come up with a great conclusion. Feel free to tell me one if you do. Is there some reason the Steeler quarterbacks are performing really well under pressure? And don't tell me because their line stinks, they're always under pressure and they adjust to it better than everyone. Their line didn't stink and they're not under pressure much more than any other team. I don't know. I mean, is it just something that the quarterback coach or, hey, heaven forbid, the offensive coordinator has helped them with? Maybe. I mean, the fact that Trubisky's 1, Pickett's 3, Allen's 2, and Mahomes is 4. So that's the company you're keeping in this one specific metric. But you can hang with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. They were 1 and 3 on the list we talked about before. In any metric, I like it. So here's what they said about Pickett. Pickett faced 140 pressure dropbacks a season ago, going 48 of 39 for 514 yards and 2 touchdowns. He tied Trubisky with 6 big-time throws. The biggest difference between the two were that Pickett had 4 turnover-worthy plays and that he posted just an 8.7-yard average depth of target, which is 3 yards shy of Trubisky's number. Crazy. The good news for Steeler fans, though, is Pickett outperformed Trubisky from a clean pocket, not being pressured. So certainly watching both, mostly Pickett, I would have thought he handles pressure quite well. Trubisky, it didn't dawn on me as much. I've obviously been studying Pickett more than Trubisky in the offseason. But I think that's promising. He's pretty cool customer. All right. I will be back talking practice and training camp at you tomorrow. Take care.